I wanted to share with you what I've heard about the buzz on reassessment in Idaho. And then I will ask you, and you can do this now, to share your thoughts, feelings, reflections about reassessment as I do this. So one of the things I heard is that I've been told a reassessment has been done, but neither I nor my child knew it happened. The one thing I heard. Another thing I heard is we receive multiple services and I can't keep track whose reassessment is happening when. Why can't there just be one? Good question. Someone other than my child's therapist does the reassessment, which is confusing. I can't tell the difference between an assessment and a reassessment. Hopefully that's not because the person is just doing another assessment, and finally, the last thing I've heard is I've seen my child re-traumatized by having to tell their story over and over again, which is something that was mentioned early on in our previous session. So let me pause and see if there are any reflections, thoughts, feelings that folks have around reassessment that they would like to share via the chat.
So we have a comment. After a few years of all of this, I have learned to navigate it better. And now I ask to work with one person. So that comes from being a veteran in the system.
Good.
Another comment that agrees with every statement that you put on your slide. And somebody saying this is where the secondary trauma comes in over and over and over
again.
Multiple kids, multiple times, right?
Yes, absolutely. So to that person who just said that, when I was first asked to talk about reassessment, I kind of panicked because to me, reassessment takes 5 minutes. And I was like, what am I going to say? Like, reassessment means updating things on the cans that need to be updated. It takes 5 minutes. What am I going to say? Right? Because we definitely do not want people telling their story over and over again for no good reason, right?
And Dr. Fernando, we have a comment that somebody shared with us from the parent network, and it says that a provider, they've been told by a provider, I can't use somebody else's assessment. I'm ethically required to do my own. That's where we have misinformation flowing among providers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is a very rigid interpretation of the requirement. So I can take an assessment that's done by anyone in Idaho, right? If someone were to see me, I could say, hey, I would like all the information you have on your client to share with me, particularly if they have another CANS or your assessment information. And I will take that and I will say to, let's say Ruth brought herself and her child, and I'd say, Ruth, I got the information from Joe therapist, and is this correct? And she'll say, yep, that's correct. I said, is there anything new I need to understand? And we'll update the assessment from there. I don't have to hear the trauma story in order to make a determination of what's happening. I can trust that the trauma story, if Ruth tells me that trauma story is correct, okay, great. No one has to talk about it. I can read about it.
So we have a parent asking, please tell me, where is it written that they do not have to do their own assessment? Because clearly this is happening so often that parents really want to be able to offer their provider the formal knowledge that it's not that they don't have to do their own assessment. It's how they're interpreting what their own assessment means, right? Like I do have to do my own assessment, but the description I gave you was I took someone else's information, right? Verified it with the family and then asked updates and then used that for my assessment. I didn't force the family to go through a 0 to 100, tell me the story all over again process, right? I might also talk to Joe therapist to say, hey, thanks for sending me that stuff. I met with the family. Here's what I talked to them about. Do you have anything to add? Right?
So we can update each other on what's going on. I don't have to traumatize the family a second time to tell me the story so that I can work with them. So it's the interpretation of what doing your assessment means. That's where some therapists are getting very rigid about it. And I'll tell you why. Now, mind you, I'm telling you this because I used to run a Medicaid clinic myself. Okay. We're paid to do assessments. And we set up business models where we assume that when we get a new client, we're going to do X number of billable units for assessment. So there's, and I'm not saying that the therapist is like trying to scam anyone. I'm saying that's how our system is set up, right? There's an incentive to put you through an assessment. So we have to help clinicians fight that incentive to do the right thing and not re-traumatize clients. Other thoughts or comments about reassessment?
Comment on reassessment. Reassessments are good, but it would be nice to be asked as a parent if anything has changed.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. It is your story after all.